Good morning. Welcome back to At First Glance. My name is Jared Wasson.
It's good to be back with you. I'm Pastor Michael Miller here at First Lutheran Church.
We got a doozy today, Pastor. We are in Palm Sunday. And the reading we have today.
Beginning of Holy Week.
Absolutely, beginning of Holy Week. The reading we have today is basically Jesus' trial and crucifixion. Why are we doing that today?
Yeah, so Holy Week begins with the Palm procession as Jesus is entering into Jerusalem, and that tips off the final week of his life, the kind of the culmination of everything. We shared the story from John's Gospel last week about the raising of Lazarus, and in John's Gospel, that's the provocation that causes the plot to kill Jesus. They're fearful that people are going to be so taken by this that everyone is going to believe in him, and then the Romans are going to crush the rebellion. So Jesus comes into Jerusalem on a donkey. It's a fulfillment of a prophecy that the king would enter Jerusalem in this way, and that the people would claim him. That doesn't do anything for the Pharisees and the religious leaders' fears.
No.
Because
kind of exacerbates it a little bit.
Now you have this whole crowd of people recognizing him as the coming king.
Yeah, that's not good when you're trying to appease the Romans.
Right. So it quickly escalates, and Jesus is arrested, and he's turned over, and he ends up being crucified.
Mm-hmm.
So I think part of the reason why, I remember as a child, Palm Sunday was just Palm Sunday.
Right.
And I think as things have changed culturally, we tended as a whole community to walk through this week, coming together on Maundy, Thursday to remember Jesus' Last Supper with his disciples, coming again on Friday to remember the story of his crucifixion and burial, and then gathering on Sunday to celebrate the resurrection.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something really problematic about celebrating Jesus as the coming king with palm branches and joyful celebration one Sunday, and then celebrating resurrection on the next Sunday if you don't participate in everything that happens in between.
Right. Yep.
So I think that's the primary reason why there was a shift to bringing that whole story into the Sunday. We start with the palm procession, but then we look at what all follows that.
It's almost a whole week in miniature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it gives everybody the experience of this whole story. If you participate on Palm Sunday and then come to Easter, it is a little bit jostling to start out with the palm procession, then suddenly be at the crucifixion. But
it's like a roller coaster.
It is.
But roller coasters can be fun.
I don't know that this is
Yeah, you're
fun.
right. I don't know why I said that. Cut that, Jesse. Cut.
Yeah, so it makes for a full story. We're not going to tell that whole story today.
No.
But we'll tell an important piece of that.
Absolutely.
It's an alternative reading for the day if you don't want to tell the whole Passion narrative.
Yep. So today we're going through the crucifixion, so that next Sunday we can go through the resurrection without missing a whole ton of context, basically, right? That's what we're doing today. All right. So if you want to follow along at home, we are going through Matthew chapter 27, verses 11 through 54. Now Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus said, "You have said so." But when he was accused by the chief priests and the elders, he gave no answer. Then Pilate said to him, "Do you not hear how many things they testify against you?" But he gave him no answer, not even to a single charge, so that the governor was greatly amazed. Now at the feast, the governor was accustomed to release for the crowd any one prisoner whom they wanted. And they had then a notorious prisoner called Barabbas. So when they had gathered, Pilate said to them, Whom do you want me to release for you, Barabbas or Jesus who is called Christ? For he knew that it was out of envy that they had delivered him up. Besides, while he was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife sent word to him, Have nothing to do with that righteous man, for I have suffered much because of him today in a dream. Now the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas and to destroy Jesus. The governor again said to them, Which of the two would you want me to release for you? And they said, Barabbas. Pilate said to them, Then what shall I do with Jesus, who is called Christ? They all said, Let him be crucified. And he said, Why? What evil has he done? But they shouted all the more, Let him be crucified. So when Pilate saw that he was gaining nothing, but rather that a riot was beginning, he took water and washed his hands before the crowd, saying, I am innocent of this man's blood. See to it yourselves. And all the people answered, His blood be on us and our children. Then he released for them Barabbas, and having scourged Jesus, delivered him to be crucified. Then the soldiers of the governor took Jesus to the governor's headquarters, and they gathered the whole battalion before him. And they stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him. Twisting together a crown of thorns, they put it on his head and put a reed in his right hand. And kneeling before him, they mocked him, saying, Hail, King of the Jews! And they spit at him, and took the reed and struck him on the head. And then when they had mocked him, they stripped him of the robe and put his own clothes on him, and led him away to be crucified. As they went out, they found a man of Cyrene, Simon by name. They compelled this man to carry the cross. And when they came to a place called Golgotha, which means place of the skull, they offered him wine to drink, mixed with gall. But when he tasted it, he would not drink it. And when they had crucified him, they divided his garments among them by casting lots. Then they sat down and kept watch over him there. And over his head they put the charge against him, which read, This is Jesus, King of the Jews. Then 2 robbers were crucified with him, one on his right and one on his left. And those who passed by derided him, wagging their heads, saying, You who would destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, save yourself. If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross. So also the chief priests with the scribes and the elders mocked him, saying, He saved others, but he cannot save himself. He is the King of Israel. Let him come down now from the cross, and we will believe him. He trusts in God. Let God deliver him now, if he desires him. For he said, I am the Son of God. And the robbers who were crucified with him also reviled him in the same way. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness all over the land, until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani. That is, my God, why have you forsaken me? And some of the bystanders, hearing it, said, This man is calling Elijah. And one of them at once ran and took a sponge, filled it with sour wine, and put it on a reed, and gave it to him to drink. But the other said, Let us wait to see whether Elijah will come and save him. And Jesus cried out again with a loud voice, and yielded up his spirit. And behold, the curtain of the temple was torn in two, from top to bottom, that the earth shook and the rocks were split. The tombs were opened, and many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised. And coming out of the tombs after his resurrection, they went into the holy city and appeared to many. When the centurion and those who were with him, keeping watch over Jesus, saw the earthquake and what took place, they were filled with awe and said, Truly, this was the Son of God. The crucifixion of Christ. That is tough to read.
Yeah, it's a story we've obviously heard many times. It's brings us to the core of this, the mystery of who Jesus was and what he means for us, and it's this climax point at the heart of our church year. So what, if anything, do you notice in a new way as you read through that this time? Or maybe not new, maybe something that just stands out.
I mean, John's recounting of the story is interesting. I think the thing that really sticks out with me is the death of Christ when he says, my God, why have you forsaken me?" That's something we hear a lot. Why would Christ, who is God, say that? That's kind of where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting phrase. I've heard that it's one of the Psalms.
Yeah, it's a
And he's
quote from a
quoting
psalm.
one of the Psalms.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that? What is that psalm about? What is he saying here with his last words?
Well, it's one of those lament psalms, so it's crying out of pain, and that experience of being, it feels like we're out of God's grace, or feels like we're out of God's presence. Maybe we've trusted in the past. Maybe we've had that experience of joy and a sense of fullness and being a part of a community filled with love, and now we're alone and isolated, and the world seems against us. God, why have you forsaken me? Why have you left me to this? I think that's a common feeling for people at any time, and for Jesus, at what other time has he felt so alone?
Right.
So I think in part it bears witness to Jesus' humanity.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That this isn't just play acting. He's approaching his human death, and to feel
Alone.
Yeah, alone. I mean, everybody's turned against him.
His disciples ran away.
He's offered himself. He's offered life to everybody who's come to him, and now everyone's turned against him.
Right.
So I think for me, that's a point of connecting to his humanity and my own humanity, and what is that desperate feeling of aloneness.
Right.
The part that hit me this time as I listened to it was, they're accusing him at the beginning,
Right.
and he doesn't answer.
Why is that?
Pilate says, "Don't you hear everything they're saying? Don't you have anything to say?"
He stays quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And it amazes Pilate. But why does he stay quiet? Why doesn't he, defend himself? Because he knows he's innocent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that's what I was pondering. It's
Yeah.
like the impulse to defend ourselves is very strong.
It
Like
is.
if I had a chance to try to counter all of that, it seems like I would be speaking loudly to counter that.
Absolutely.
The effect in the story, as I was hearing, is that you hear the accusations louder, you hear more clearly the contrast between Jesus' innocence. It's a different gospel. We've been in John's gospel for a few weeks now, and I keep hearing or remembering that conflict about the man who was born blind. Everybody's seeing it in a different way, and that comes out in this. That kind of thing comes out in this story.
Mm-hmm.
The gospel writer is portraying Jesus as truly the Son of God, truly the Christ. But that's seen by others in the story as blasphemy. That's insulting to God to claim that.
Right.
And so they hand him over to be killed, which is the right way of seeing.
Right.
And Jesus remains silent and leaves that question for us as the listeners or the readers of this to discern.
Mm.
So it's striking at the end of the reading that we've just done that it's the Roman soldiers who say, truly this was the Son of God.
Right.
So those who might have been expected to see this most clearly, the religious leaders, are opposed.
Blinded to it even. Yeah.
Yeah, and the ones who may be least likely, his executioners, are at the conclusion of this able to see this was someone extraordinary.
Mm-hmm. It's ironic how that works, huh?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of fun how Pilate becomes almost ironically the first evangelist, mass evangelist, in 3 languages, marking Christ's cross as here is the King of the Jews, and he was correct about that.
Yeah.
So that's a little ironic.
There's strong irony in this story.
Very
Everybody
strong
who's
irony.
accusing him of what is true.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But the story's not over.
No.
This is, I think, where the Romans thought the story would end, where the religious leaders thought the story was going to end, but we'll see next week.
Yeah. And I think the question that I would carry with me, and the question that I want to offer up is just like how is this like our own lives?
Mm-hmm.
And how do we find the humility to listen more deeply, to look more carefully, and not destroy what is of God, or not destroy what is the thing that would give us life.
Right.
I don't know, it seems to me a call to humility and to think with an openness to what is God saying to us through this story for the world and the life that we're living in right now.
Mm, absolutely. I think I'll just one last thought here.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important to read this story and to remember that this is what Christ did for you. If you were, I think C.S. Lewis says, if you were the only man who ever lived, Christ would still have done this for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is really reassuring for us, that this is what he chose for us because of his great love for us.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of relates back to the Lazarus story where he weeps with his friends,
Mm-hmm.
And how he relates so deeply with us.
Mm-hmm.
And that this, not only does he relate to us, he dies for us too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
He gives it all up.
It does. We can follow his example in that way, I think. There are times in our lives where we should give things up in order to live more fully in him.
Mm-hmm.
He sets an example here.
Mm-hmm. Thinking again of how we surrender our sense of control and the need to be right. Hold that in your prayer this week, as you approach, or as you journey through Holy Week and then approach the good news of Easter. How is God speaking to you through all of these stories? Be ready to hear the Spirit.
Absolutely. Good thought.
Well, thank you again, Jared.
Thank you,
to dig
Pastor.
into these texts.
Absolutely. Can't wait for next week.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Goodbye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.